Ever wonder what it's like to work behind the scenes at Geocaching HQ? Well, in this episode, I chat with two amazing women, JTCoffee and GiaCaches, who went from geocaching in the snow and tracking Everclear songs to helping run the global geocaching game. Get ready for some surprising stories, career twists, and a reminder that there's no one right way to geocache. Welcome to Cache Like a Girl, the podcast where we celebrate the incredible stories of women geocachers. I'm Lookout Lisa, founder of Cache Advance and the Cache Crate, and a passionate geocacher since 2002. In each episode, you'll find inspiration to fuel your geocaching adventures. Let's cache like a girl and make our mark on the map. Well, hey there, and welcome to Cache Like a Girl, the podcast where we celebrate stories, adventures, and the voices of women in geocaching. I'm your host, Lisa, Lookout Lisa, and today I'm excited to introduce you to JTCoffee, Jessie, and GiaCaches, Gia. They're geocachers and HQ Lackeys. They're joining us to talk all things geocaching, adventure, and more. So let's dive in. Well, welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yeah. So you guys are actually at HQ right now, it looks like.
Yes, that was
Cool. That's great. Well, again, thank you so much. It's great to, I've known you guys, as geocachers and kind of as locals in a way, but also a little bit through your work with HQ as well. So this is really exciting to kind of come in all different angles here with geocaching. So I guess we'll start off with just the first basic question is, how did you first discover geocaching and how did you get your geocaching name? Gia, let's start with you.
Well, how did I get my geocaching name is easy because my name is Gia. Well, actually, let me start that over. When I first started geocaching, I had a username Pale Green Star. It was based on an Everclear song that I really liked. I didn't really understand that it was something that I would become known as or that I would be writing all the time. And then this was back like 2011-ish. And I started to kind of become obsessed. And I would tell people I was going geocaching and they would be like, geocaching? And so it was like, no, but that is like a good idea. And so I changed
username.
Yes, I changed my username to GiaCaches, and I've been that ever since. And it just makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I love it. Cool. Thanks. How about you, Jessie?
I got into caching when I lived in Michigan, also in 2011. And it was, I worked at a nature center there. And each year we'd sit down and talk about what programs we wanted to do, how we wanted to add. And a coworker of mine for years prior to 2011 was always saying, we really ought to get into geocaching. We should have geocaching programs. That would be so much fun. And we were all of us were not receptive to that. Like, that sounds hard. You need a GPS. What even is that? That sounds complicated, expensive. No one would even like that. And that went over for years and years until a school called the nature center and said, do you think you all could do an after school club about geocaching for fourth graders that learn orienteering and geography and so forth? And we were like, absolutely spectacular idea, just like all like nonprofits who are opportunistic at best. So then we went to my friend Bob and we're like, you remember that geocaching idea that you had? Better teach us how. And so my first caches were found in February in the snow in Michigan because we had to get ready to go. And it was I had to dig out snow to get under a bench to get the coordinates and then dig out snow again for the bush that the container was in. And then I was like, well, that's fun. Gotta keep doing that. And I didn't have my username at that outing because it was just kind of like, well, what does this even look like? And then once I started going caching more and more with that friend, Bob, and I remember him standing at our office. We had multiple clipboards because again, that was pre-smartphone. So we had GPS unit clipboards that had the printouts of the pages of which ones we were going to find. And there was like standing in the threshold of the door, and I'm packing up still. And he's like, come on, let's go. And he's like, and you haven't even created an account. Well, you have to do, and so like we have to do that real fast. And so my username, I didn't realize it would be something I would go by, and it was just kind of haphazardly came up with. I had a coffee can of pens on my desk, and so I was like, nah. And I figured a JTCoffee out, and I've gone by it ever since. It's a good coffee.
Absolutely. And living in Seattle, you get all the best coffee now too, right? Cool. Well, thank you for that. I love hearing the background stories. So for me, most everyone knows I enjoy hiking up to forest fire lookouts. So, and then I like alliteration. So that just worked for me. Yeah. Well, cool. So, obviously, you've shared with me, Jessie, your first find, which was really rather complicated. So kudos to you for that and sticking with it. Yeah. Gia, how about you? What was your first find?
The first find that I logged with my account was just traditional, located near my parents' place in rural or central Minnesota. So it was a place I'd walked by hundreds, if not thousands of times. And so it was just like, this thing was here the whole time and I didn't know. And it was like, it hooked me like immediately.
Is that cache still active?
No, it was recently archived.
Oh
no.
That multi is still going. And it was old at the time. I think it was placed in 04 or 06 or something like that. And it's still around on the map. And I reach out to the CO every once in a while and be like, look what you did.
Look at me now.
Yeah. Since it was archived, now there's room on the game board for something else.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. My first cache is long gone. It was archived. So yeah, I should think about maybe hiding something in that area again. I haven't been to the exact location. It's in northern Idaho, in the woods. So it's time to get back. Cool. So, tell me a little bit about your roles at HQ. What does a typical day look like for you as well, Gia?
Yeah, so I started at the company on business development, and I recently moved to the marketing team. So the marketing team manages a bunch of different things at the blog and the newsletter, engagement campaigns. I also get to help with copy support. So like the words that go on the website, in the app, that like are used to describe things for our existing community and also invite new players in. So that's really fun because I feel like I get to use my game knowledge to be like, we can't use this word because that actually means this, but like this will be the most clear way to say that. So that's been really fun.
You get to bring in new players too.
Yeah.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the marketing aspect, or because we've seen definitely a lot of new players come in always, but certainly through the pandemic and now as the world has opened up.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so that's cool. Yeah, I know, Jay, you and I have actually worked on some projects together between HQ and Cache Advance, and they've done really well. It's been exciting. So we're looking at doing some new ones too. So stay tuned. And how about you, Jessie?
I am the head of community here at HQ, which is cool. I oversee and support two kind of both sisters of the community teams. And that just means we support the players. And either as you are just getting in, you don't know what a multi is, you need to get a payment together, your app isn't working right. The social media aspect of stoking the hype and getting people excited and aware of the game. And then once people decide to really be a deep dive into the community and this is what you want to do, the other team kind of supports you, and you might want to host a mega event. You might want to become a volunteer reviewer, moderator, translator. You might want to write a news article about the idea of geocaching and the game and the community. And so those are the things that we do. We also kind of steward the guidelines of the game, since the reviewers review against the guidelines. And so we kind of keep them and interpret them for others. And we get to do because of that, some of the fun ads. So like the locationless caches live on my teams, and the rewards live on my teams, fun stuff like that.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So you both are really quite involved in many different aspects then at HQ. So what would be your favorite part that you enjoy the most of your jobs?
It's a great question. I love so many pieces of it.
Okay.
The globalness of it,
Yeah.
really fun. I know starting here, I knew a lot about the game. And then I learned how much I didn't know when I started working here, of like how different the game can be and how different people play it all over the world, and how there are volunteers and players all over that we get to work with. We don't get to see them every day, but we support them. I get to learn what geocaching is like in South Africa, and how a review there could be different than in Germany, which is different than in Switzerland, which is different than in Japan. And that's really cool. And I love deep diving into my favorite thing, which I get to do every day.
Probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
very similar to that. Like, I feel like I get the chance to see people like at various stages in their journey, like brand new people that just learned what geocaching is and are like maybe have questions, to like, people that have been volunteering or supporting the game for years and years and years. And so it's just, yeah, the globalness of like this thing that connects us, even if we don't speak the same language. We speak the language of location. I believe we have a t-shirt, an old t-shirt that said something like that.
I think so. Yeah, it's amazing, because I've traveled around a lot, and I know you guys have, and I've been caching a long time, and you meet any cacher on the trail or an event, and you immediately have something in common. And even though you may have come at it from very different backgrounds or cultures or locations, so yeah, it definitely is the language of location. I love that.
You would reprint
Yeah.
that one.
So speaking of unique places and traveling, as we know, geocaching will take us to those either, for attending an event or working on a challenge or just around your neighborhood. What's some of the coolest places that you've visited that geocaching has brought you to? Jessie?
Cool places. I held an event in Moscow, Russia, and it wasn't necessarily geocaching didn't necessarily take me there, but it is a place I was geocaching at the time. And because I held an event, I got to meet some of the locals there, and that was so much fun. Speaking of I don't speak any Russian, and the people there did speak English, and it was such a neat reminder of that globalness, and such a interesting way of meeting people and learning about the game, and then just kind of the travel confidence that it gives you, of like, I can get myself to a place and meet local people all via geocaching. We already have something to talk about, and that was really fun. A cache that I never thought I'd find is Match Stash in Sweden. Sweden's oldest, the one that was placed in August 2000 over there. In my mind, even that's not even, you talk to the Swedish reviewers and they're like, oh, hidden in a boring old horse pasture. And I mean, I thought it was beautiful, but to them, they're like, but there's all these other options. But I just kind of named that in my mind as like, well, that's a cache I'm just never going to get, because who's going to accidentally end up in Sweden? And how am I going to finally get myself to that place? And finally getting there was such an achievement to me, just because it felt unreachable when I first learned about it. And so that always rises to the top of my list of amazing places, just because I thought that's just off the list.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I've seen that on the map as a great oldie, and I'm always wanting to extend my Jasmer. So yeah, makes me think of Mingo. It's just out in the middle of a field, but I mean, it's a mecca.
Yeah.
And a big destination for a lot of people, a lot of cachers. Well, how about you, Gia?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, you said mango, and then as you were talking, it's like we found some really amazing caches in like maybe not the most exciting places. And so it's like, oh, do I pick something that's like, we both got to travel to Australia and New Zealand last year. And like, that was amazing. We went to a mega event on Leap Day. And like, how cool is that?
Yeah, that was really special. It was a
Yeah.
really cool trip.
Yeah, that's definitely on my bucket list to get down under. Cool. So, speaking of bucket lists, I guess, what is on you all's bucket list for coming up for geocaching adventures?
I think we both actually have hiding goals this year. Like I've lived in Seattle now for 3.5 years, which is wild. I'm originally from Minnesota, moved out here to work at HQ. And it took me a while to kind of get the lay of the land and figure out like neighborhoods. Actually, I'm still learning neighborhoods.
But it's big.
Figuring out like where might be good spots to place caches. And so I've really started to get into that this year, which has been really fun and satisfying because I had a lot of caches when I lived in Fargo-Moorhead, and so it's fun to do that again. So hiding and then obviously adventuring too. Some trips coming up.
Match dash, maybe.
Yes, batch dash is done.
There we go.
On my radar.
Yeah. Well, let me dive into that a little bit more, Gia, because I know you were very active in your Fargo, Minnesota community, geocaching community and events and such. Do you did you end up archiving or adopting out your caches, or what? How'd you manage the move?
So I put together a geo tour in Fargo-Moorhead that came out in September of 2019. Then it was like the pandemic hit, and there was all of that. But yeah, so my geo tour was active, and it wasn't my geo tour. It was created in collaboration with some really creative cachers. Area, TriCaches, M&M-O, and Onion Pond, who are amazing. And they have, when the tour was archived in January of 2023, they republished some of them. But it was time that the caches had been in play for a couple of years and people had found them, and I wasn't there to maintain them to the level of vigilance that I like to maintain my caches. It was time.
Yeah.
And refresh the game board, as they say. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So, Jessie, how about you? What's on your bucket list?
Oh gosh, anywhere I haven't been, I'd like to go. And it's I every once in a while on a really rainy day, I might look at flights to Sao Paulo and see if I can when is a good time of year to get to Brazil to get that Abe cache.
Abe.
Yeah. But really, the adventure is really anywhere in any exciting trip. You can find some really incredible things, even if it's not one of those big marquee catch pipes or locations. And so, this year I'd like to increase those fun times that I've had and find some amazing things and hide. I would like to hide something each month. And I'm trying to, I've gotten so many. When I have an idea, I build a cache page for it, and so it kind of goes into my unpublished caches on my profile. You can see that little spot on the left side on the website. And I've got a big inbox of ideas, and I really just need to get them into the world. And so I am trying to get those out and published as best as I can. And that way they can be adventures that other people can have on their trips when they come here.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's some obviously amazing caches all around the Seattle area. Matter of fact, I'm going to be in Seattle coming up this weekend, so looking forward to that. Yeah. So I guess let's talk a little bit more about HQ while I've got you here. I'm curious if there's any behind the scenes things about HQ that maybe most geocachers don't know about.
We're kind of an open book. There's a lot.
Like for me as a player, like coming and learning like about this global, like the global community of volunteers that support AIM, like in Minnesota or like in the region that I was in, we didn't have a reviewer that was like, hello, I'm the reviewer. Like there wasn't a person that I could ask my questions to. And so sometimes like,
They're or local.
yeah, not
Yeah.
local. And so sometimes when I would get like, what is the log, owner attention,
Requested and needs maintenance.
like, yeah, from the
At the time.
reviewer, I was like, who is this person that is out to get me? And like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I've heard other cachers say that too. And then like coming to HQ and like knowing more about the team that Jessie supports, and like they use scripts and tools to help them like
Identify when there's a problem, or if
Yeah.
there's enough DNFs, or somebody at some point has logged a owner attention requested and that hasn't gone like addressed, then it comes to a list that the reviewers can see.
And then like, yeah, just what that actually, how that feels when you're a player and you don't know that
Yes.
there's a real person that is like using a tool, but they're doing it to try to help improve the game board. Like the goal of doing that is to ensure that the caches are
there.
actually there
When you
for
go for
people
them.
to find. And so like just thinking about more big picture for me has been really interesting. And like, yeah, that was something that like really expanded my perspective, and like different it is in different parts of the world too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I hear from a lot of cachers, they get frustrated
Yeah.
working with a reviewer because they don't understand that they're volunteers. There's a set kind of methodology of how to help us cachers hide and maintain our caches and such. But yeah, and it can come off as feeling like a personal attack because it's just digital. So we don't get that face to face.
Checked on it. It's right there. And you think, how is it someone has a list of my caches and they're just, it's to take it personally, but it's, learning that it's definitely not it was an eye-opening thing.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because I hear that from a lot of cachers, and I know a lot of reviewers as well, and I've seen what they do, so I see both sides of that.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. How about you, Jessie? What was kind of eye-opening to you coming to HQ?
So many things. I thought I knew a lot about the game, and I did, but there is so much I didn't know. Like, oh my goodness. And so many nuances and little bits, and yes, if this, then this. And I also thought a lot of people, I thought maybe even most people cached exactly like I do, just because the people I was caching with cached similarly to how I do it. That's just how you go caching. And then, we know how many users are on the app or something like that. And we can tell, gosh, a lot of users are on the app. Not a lot of people. Like, I log on web. That's just what I like to do. And I log a draft on my phone so I can go home and I write a log. And I have since I had a smartphone to use. And not a whole lot of people do that, which is interesting. I just assume that that's what everybody does because that's what I do. And there were lots of examples like that of, well, I build a list and I go out, or I like to do it caching in this particular way, but then learning about how many people actually fall into the categories of, but have been caching it, who go caching as often or as not often, or it was eye-opening to see how many different ways there are to play the game and how there's room for all of those ways in the game, because you can cache every day, cache once a year, and both of those are fine. And there's room for every of those use cases in there. That was a huge surprise to me at the time.
And we see that all of those different ways of caching, like even at HQ, like there is a whole range of like, people that cache occasionally to, I guess, us.
And on the high end.
It's so cool. And I think it's important too, because it's like we need all of those perspectives to help us understand people at every point.
It's been a long time since I've been a double-digit finder. And so if I built everything the way that makes sense to me, I would probably leave all those people behind, because there are things that aren't confusing to me anymore just because I've been seeing it for so long. But someone newer in the game might be like, actually, that's really confusing. Oh, of course, that makes perfect sense. Let's click.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, thanks, guys. I think about other questions. Well, actually, this one kind of leads off of what we were just talking about. All the different ways of geocaching. Obviously, geocaching has really evolved too over the years. Like you were saying, Jessie, at the beginning that you started, you had to have a handheld GPS and printouts, and boy, do I remember those days. So what changes or trends are you most excited about that are happening now?
I love those little tiny tweaks that are made that reduce the number of taps. Like right now, the thing I wouldn't have named that I would use this a lot, but I find that I'm using it a lot, is that when you open the app on our geocaching app, I'm just doing that now so that I can name what I'm supposed to do. When you're looking at the map and you tap on a cache at the bottom, there's that rectangle. We call that the tray. And above the title, there's the last 5 last 5 logs in icon form. So you can see if the last 5 were funds, if there was a DNF in there, if there was an owner maintenance in there, if there was a note. And like I said, I would not have named that when I looked at the list of updates that were happening as like, well, I'm going to use that every single day. But I do. And it has already really changed how I cache, because I would have had to tap that and then tap the logs and then to see if the most recent ones were DNF'd. But if you're traveling and you just tap on the icon, you can see, oh, that one's been DNF'd a bunch of times, and I don't have time to try to be the hero to see if I can go find it. So I'm going to go find something else. And that has saved a lot of time, and I'm big into efficiency. I don't like to backtrack. I don't like to miss a cache on the list. And so just knowing that that is an easy one to leave behind, go for the next one. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah, with that same release, past logs we added so you can see your log. Like it's in the same tab as like friends. So it's like your log
at the very top when you're looking at
and then
logs.
Owner logs. But it's like when someone calls you for a phone a friend, and instead of having to like go to web and then like go to the page and then read your log, like that flow is so much better.
Rather than saying, I can't see my own log, as if I hold phones like that anymore. I can't see my own log. What did I have to say about that cache when I found it? Because it was easier for friends to see my log than me to see my log. And now I can see my log. It's amazing.
Well, it sounds like I must be due for an update because I'm not even seeing any of that on my app.
That's it. Go to the apps or the app store and just update the app. And there's there's new filters now.
Oh yeah, that's a really cool thing. Now you can search for like just Cedos or community celebrations or block parties, which is like
it's
great.
Especially
especially this year,
because those are happenings and you want to know where they are. So
yeah, there's definitely a lot going on, and that's going to be so helpful to see the past logs, because we would do that using GSAC back in the day, and you could filter out caches that have DNFs if you're going on a big cache run for the day and you want to be the most successful. And I'm sure that helps newer cachers as well, because they don't even know what they're looking for. So if they've got a clue that nobody else is finding it, maybe they should be moving along.
Right. And it's not a true problem. It's either really hard or not a good place to start or something like that. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, yeah, I'm going to do that update right as soon as we finish here. Take a look. Advice do you have for women, really anybody, that might be new to geocaching or wanting to get involved with geocaching, or more involved in the community? What advice would you give?
Attend events.
Yeah.
Multiple. Even if you have like a uncomfortable or like maybe awkward interaction at one event, like go to more. I think overall, like we have a really great community and people want to help. and they want to like help teach new players how to hide and how to find. And I think events are just such a great place to meet those people and then like go caching with them.
Yes. And I think it's really easy to take a quick look at geocaching and feel like it is for a certain kind of person. And I don't fit into that kind of person that you on a quick look that that geocaching would be for. And social media has its benefits and drawbacks, but one of the gifts it offers is to really show you how many different people are in the game, even if they're not in your immediate location circle. And so if you are starting to get into it or curious about it, or you're really thinking like, gosh, this is, I'm a fish out of water here. Looking at TikTok, looking at YouTube, looking at Instagram, searching for those hashtags and looking at other, or even blogs. There's some people that have really interesting blogs that explain their experience. And you can see yourself in others, because even if they're not right here with you when you use social media. And I love that. And I love watching other people's stories. And it also shows you not only the different types of people or that can go caching, but the different types of caches that exist in the world. And if you live in a place that has a very specific style of caching and think that is all that caching is, just expanding that worldview to another place. Wow, caching can be like that. Cachers can be like that.
Yeah.
There is room for me here. And that is so empowering.
That's great, Jessie. I love that because, the cachers come in all shapes, sizes, and types. So, there's the stereotypical geocacher, but that's really changed. Definitely has changed since I've been caching 23 years now. I was like a fish out of water being female. And now I think we're probably skewing more female than male here in 2025. So yeah, definitely things have changed, but it's exciting. Yeah.
And now like I am in a position for hiring people at HQ and just a girl in my role. And more and more people have childhood memories. Oh, I used to cache with my family and now I'm into it now as an adult. And certain, when I started, there wasn't anybody that started playing, not at the company, but and when I started playing this game, there wasn't anybody in that demographic because the game had only been around for 10 years.
Yeah.
And so now that it can be a different generational thing, it really opens up the opportunity of the game and the creativity and how you play it and who is out there. And it's really cool to see.
Yeah. I love seeing them come back for sure. Yeah, to caching. They go off to school and graduate, and then now, all of a sudden, they're back. Yeah. Well, I guess I'll wrap up with just one last question for each of you. What's something that you always carry with you when you're geocaching that might be a little different? Or unique to you?
I'm very stubborn. It's not really like, it's more I don't like to give up.
Your tenacity.
Yeah.
You carry.
I was going to say a pen, but like I often don't head up and I'm like, I think there's, I guess like I always have my phone and camera and I do try to like capture footage or video of like cool caches that we find.
Yes.
And
handmade swag.
yeah. Oh yeah. I really get into making trackable postcards.
Oh.
Snail mail. And we'll leave those in caches that are large enough, which is fun.
Well, that's really cool. So then people can send it to somebody. Yeah.
You
I like
send
the idea.
us your snail mail address. We'll send you something.
Yep.
Cool. I'd love that.
And I have 2 trackables that I have carried with me literally everywhere, every cache I've found since 2012. So not since I've been caching, but I moved to Seattle in 2012 in the spring, and then in the summer, there was one of the original block parties here. And it was the first time I'd seen a boatload of geocachers all at once. And I was like, holy moly. And the first person I talked to was not from the US, and it was just a very jovial German person. I was like, whoa, oh, what is happening? And then there was Signal the Frog, and there was a trackable Volkswagen door. And I'm like, I didn't even know what to expect. And then I found a Lackey at the time. I need to try to figure out who that was. I have no idea. And they gave me a tag from the event, and it was like this green diamond shape. And I don't have my bag with me in the room. Otherwise, I'd show it to you because I have it. But I have brought it with me ever since that moment to this moment today now. And it's neat to always have a geocaching thing with me. And I talk about that, and I can talk about the impact of that event and the impact of a one-on-one, just a real quick, this is for you, a gift from me to you to keep. And I'm like, and to remember the magic that can offer. And now, like, I'm in a place where I can give people either little moments or memories or attention or something like that. And it's a really nice reminder of that full circle experience for me.
I love that. I'm about to check out that trackable next time I run into you.
Yeah, I'll have it.
Well, thank you so much, ladies, for joining me on my podcast and giving, a little bit of a inside back scenes, behind the scenes view into HQ. And I definitely learned something more about each of you, even though I know you personally, somewhat through geocaching and running into you here and there. So I hope that we get to meet out on the trail again soon.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks. Have a fantastic afternoon. Before we wrap up, think about the first cache that really surprised you. Not just the location or the hide, but the moment you realized you were part of something bigger. That's what JTCoffee and GiaCaches remind us of today. Geocaching is more than a game. It's a global community. And if you're new here, you belong. Join us next time as we dive into another story from a trailblazing woman in geocaching.